All right. So far, 0 peeps.
This thing on?
Oh, man. All right, we'll make sure. All right, people, now they're joining. Oh, there they are.
I'm like, see ya.
So, yeah, is there people here? If you're here, as I see some of you joining, please find the chat box and let Ryan and I know in the chat box that you can see and hear me and Ryan. Ryan, will you say something?
Check
Lovely.
test. Hello. Hello.
We see the virtual educator ES says hello. Let me know if this is working. We want to just jump in, make sure the tech is working before we actually have fun. What is up? Eric from Clarity Business Design. Chris John Backman says loud and clear. Lindell says both work fine. Rebecca says I can see and hear you. Excellent. Well, that's always a great start.
Yeah, we did something right.
Yeah.
It's good.
Awesome. So as you're joining, let us know where you're tuning in from. I always want to see where you're tuning in from. And you guys are the early birds. So we're just going to hang out and chit chat and we'll get started probably a minute or two after the top of the hour. So we see Teacher Mike says greetings from Da Nang. We've got Lamar in Taiwan. Excellent. Keep letting us know where you're tuning in from. We got the UK. Get your sacks together. What's up, brother?
Da Nang? What? I mean, all over. This is amazing.
Lauren from Northern Virginia. So many friends in Northern Virginia. I mean, I love that area. I went to
Allison, West Michigan. Let's go.
Oh, there you go. We got Rachel from France. I love France. What part of France are you from, Rachel? I've got John Michael from Newmarket, Ontario. Clarity Business Design is in the greater Seattle area. Oh, I love Seattle. I got family there. Ron from Honolulu. Thank you for waking up early this morning. We've got Lynn from Nevada. We got Adam West in Bowling Green. Adam West, you're that's the original Batman, right? You're the original Batman on the TV show. I think we've talked about this before.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've got Alan Garcia from Mexico. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I'm not familiar with that town, Rachel. That's awesome. But England originally. Okay, cool. Adam says he's Batman only on the weekends. Well, you know, it's a good weekend gig, which is awesome. Oh, I love it. As you're jumping in here, we're just asking people where you're tuning in from. We're hanging out. Everyone say hi to Ryan. This is my bud, Ryan. I'll formally introduce him in a minute when we get going, but he has been very kind to take time out of his day to bring you the goods that I can't bring you since this is his area of expertise. So I'm excited for this training. Osama Khalid from Pakistan. Excellent. David Harley in Vegas. Excited for you in the new home. Thank you so much. We've got Irvin from South Africa. Man, we are all over. I'm excited. We got Michael from NYC. I love New York City. We've got Dallas, Texas in the house. Excellent. Gabby's in Italy. Gabby, where in Italy should I go visit? I was talking to my wife over the weekend about planning a trip to Italy next summer. I've stayed in Tuscany before in some random town. I don't remember. It was so long ago, but it was beautiful. We did a lot of hiking, not hiking, but like sort of like walking through all the towns. And we went to Assisi and then we made our way up to Florence before we left the country. And that was incredible. But where should I go in Italy? Tell me. Oh, Marta's in Italy also. Then everybody from Italy, please give me an itinerary for my trip. Oh, Jimmy, my man, welcome, brother. Cameron in Palm Beach. We've got Austria in the house. We've got Portland, Oregon. Incredible. Adam says, Graham, big fan. Been working on building my first course for over a year. Hey, that's great, Adam. When are you going to launch that course? Over a year is quite a long time. Hopefully you're close. Shauna is in Scotland. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, great group of people here. It is the top of the hour. I'm going to give people one more minute to jump in because you guys are the early birds. You guys are which means on time. So, Joe Curtis, what's up, brother? Joe from Tamps. Good to see you, man. I hope the family's doing well. Connie is here. Good to see you, Connie. Let's see. We've got Francisco from Spain. I love that. Francisco, do you ever watch the movie Elf?
Francisco.
Francisco. I always think about that. Sounds so fun to say, Francisco. We've got Tia from Springfield, Missouri, another South Africa. Canada, everywhere. I love it. Okay, awesome. Well, as you're joining, let us know in the chat where you're joining in from. We're going to get started here. I'm so glad you're here. This is just something fun I wanted to do. This is my buddy Ryan Coral, and I'm going to give him the floor in just a minute. This is really going to be his workshop. But funny story, Ryan is a videographer and entrepreneur, and overall good dude. But we met at the Kajabi Impact Summit, which was their in-person conference that they were starting to get started. They did it in 2019, and then it didn't happen in 2020, obviously, and not this year. But hopefully they'll do it again. But we met out in California, and what was crazy, I love the Kajabi conference because it's so dorky. When you show up and you when you register and sign in, whatever is in person, they give you, your little badge and all your stuff, but then they had pins for you, little pins based off of how much money you have made on the Kajabi platform. And back then, Kajabi, even though it wasn't new, there was very few people that, I made $10,000, you'd have a 10K pin. And if you've made 50,000, a 10K pin and a 50K pin, you could have all the pins. And so the highest they allow is $1 million. And so I've been on Kajabi forever and on multiple businesses. And so they gave me all the pins, and I felt like Jennifer Aniston in the Breakup or whatever that movie is, when she's got all the flair.
Office Space.
Office Space. Thank you.
Yeah,
Office Space. Yes. And so she's wearing the flare. I was wearing all my pins, my flare pins, including the $1 million pin. And so it became like you'd walk around the room over the next couple of days and scope out who's wearing the $1 million pin. And be like, ooh, wow, she's made $1 million or he's made $1 million. So Ryan I was a lone wolf, and Ryan had been connected with a bunch of other $1 million people on the platform. And they had formed a little cohort and were stalking other $1 million earners. And I'm sitting there's like an after dinner, drink meetup area. And I'm sitting there by myself, like a weirdo, drinking an old fashioned or something. And this group of people, including Ryan, like awkwardly walk up to me, and I'm just like, can I help you? And they were joking. What was the joke? You were guessing what business I ran. You're like, oh, that guy's got $1 million Kajabi business. What is his niche? And you said, I think it was you, Ryan, that said my niche was what?
We all made our guesses, and my guess, which everybody agreed, because you have great hair. You had great hair back then. We just said, this guy probably owns a bunch of salons and teaches salon owners how to, start. We were, I think, off, way off, close.
It was the best. It was the most awkward introduction, and then all those people have become pretty good friends. And Ryan and I got a lot closer. We had a lot in common, and we've connected. And he's hung out with my family here in Tampa, and it's been really, really cool. Ryan's just a good dude, and I'm gonna let him do the spiel, but the long story short is I help you, run your online business, grow your online business. We're talking about courses a lot. We're talking about video, and I get a ton of questions about how do I make my video look good? What gear do I need? It overwhelms me because I didn't get into this to do video. I got into this to make money and to help people. And then I'm getting over, you're dealing with getting on camera and the nerves of being on camera. The last thing on your mind is what do I need to make it look good? And I don't know what all these things are. And that can be overwhelming. And so I've tried to help where I can, give some simple recommendations. But Ryan, this is what he does, as he's going to show you in a minute. And he's been starting to do more education on just helping people like you with your videos so your courses look good. And I was like, dude, can you please just do, this is just my idea. Can you please just do a training for my people and teach them how to make great looking course videos on a budget, and for people that aren't videographers, right? We're not videographers. And so this was my request, just to give you some amazing free content We have nothing to sell. Ryan's taken time out of his day to do this. I think this is a great partnership here of like, oh, great, let's get you in front of my people. And he's just going to give you some amazing value today. That's pretty much it. And then at the end of the training, we're going to open it up to questions. So keep that in mind. We probably won't be taking any questions during the training, but if you have specific questions for Ryan after he gets done, hopefully he'll cover all of it, then we will do some Q&A at the end. So if that sounds good, I know there's always a delay with doing these lives, but if that sounds good, give me a heck yes in the chat, and let me know that you're excited for Ryan to bring the goods, and we'll toss it over to him. Let's see, we've got, practice makes better music says, my next business should be teaching those salon owners. Someone's got to teach salon owners how to make great courses. Okay, we got a bunch of yeses. Shauna says yes. We've got a yeah, boy. Okay, let's go. Yep. Okay, I'm going to toss it over to you, Ryan, and enjoy yourself, everyone. This is going to be a fun training.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay, let me know. I'm assuming you can all still see me. I should be in a little box and you should see my slides. So I'll take a peek at the chat to make sure that's the case. This is how to create awesome looking course videos with a tight budget and without the tech overwhelm. I will say that if you came to our studio, which is in Metro Detroit, Michigan, you'd be like, Ryan, you have no cheap equipment here. Like you have fancy, like you have this amazing, we have all the things, but I also, when COVID happened, I had to transform my basement, which is where I'm currently at, into a little studio. And while I like buying the super expensive, big, really cool stuff, it's actually really fun to figure out what is the inexpensive stuff that can do some of what the big stuff can, and that might be more efficient, might be smaller. And so that's kind of the makeup of some of what I have here today. And then I know, I get people ask me all the time, because I've been doing this work for so long, what camera should I get? What microphone do you use, and all that stuff. I was like, finally, I'm like, I just need to create this thing so that people can access it and just get an idea of gear that they can afford. And I always have people saying like, hey, if you ever have like, one of your cameras you're going to sell or whatever, let me know. I'll be the first in line. So anyway, Graham, thank you a bazillion for letting me come here. I just can't believe where you all are from, like all over. This is super fun. So thanks for being here. Let's go. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, most common mistakes made when filming a course. So if you're, if you've already shot a course or you're getting ready to, we're going to go over some of these things and how to easily avoid them. I'm going to cover some small tweaks that make a big difference and don't cost any money. So that probably sounds good, right? And then finally, my favorite things list of inexpensive gear that can give the feeling of high production value to match or exceed the level of your brand. So I do have this gear guide. If you go to courseproductionacademy.com/gear, you can give me your email address, and it's actually not ready right now, but when I get done with this workshop, I have all sorts of, I've got bundles of gear. I've got budget friendly bundles that start at like $250. I'm not selling the gear, but I've compiled lens recommendations, lighting recommendations, microphone recommendations, software recommendations for editing and effects and all of that stuff. So go fill your name, give me your name, email address, and later today, I promise. I really tried to get it done before this workshop, but whatever. I didn't get it done. So, but here we are. Let's see. And then hopefully we'll have time for Q&A at the end, because, I've got a lot of stuff I want to cover. I want to move. The gear guide is going to cover all of the gear that I talk about today. So don't feel like you've got to write all of the names, or you can ask what makes, models, and all that stuff in the chat, but I'm probably not going to be able to answer those questions right now. But the gear guide is going to have all of the makes and the models and the suggestions there. So with that, copy that URL and yeah, go do it now. If you want to sneak away and come right back, but turn off all your notifications and all the things. Okay, so I want to jump right in so you know what you're in for here. We're going to do a quick exercise. Which picture do you prefer? I honestly, I'm going to show you a picture of my wife here in a second. She's smoking hot. I really should have got her to stand in, but if this was just more convenient, so you got this mug to look at. Which picture do you prefer, the top one or the bottom one? Okay, so just type in top, bottom. And the biggest difference is the lighting. So don't look at anything else. It's just the lighting. I use 2 different lights. I did a poll on Instagram and Facebook, and I was a little surprised by the results, because the reason being, I spent $180 on a light after contemplating it for far too long. I already have the lights that I needed. I have soft lights in my basement studio, but I really wanted this. It's cool. It's like a flat panel LED light. You can make different shapes out of it, all the stuff. And I'm like, oh, it'll be perfect. And I'm sure it'll be better. So I'm curious to know, top. Huh, interesting. Top. Well, this is not what Facebook and Instagram told me. You guys just ruined my experiment. 75% of the people preferred the bottom picture. I'm just making sure that it's the same one. Okay, they preferred the bottom picture. The one on the top is $185 light. That's this one that's currently on. I'm getting use out of it. The one right next to it, I could have turned on, and I almost did, just to say, like, I look pretty good, don't I? The one on the bottom, $35 light, comes with a stand. So here's the thing. I actually took this. I was at the studio this morning. I took it to one of my guys, and I showed him. I said, hey, which one do you prefer? And he's like, they both look, I don't know, the bottom one. Here's the thing. They're so close to, like, they just have the same feeling. And I told Grant, I said, yeah, we're kind of like on the fence. They both look really good, but when you look at the price and what you get, it's like, why would I spend $185 on this light? Why did I spend $185 on this light? So this is the kind of stuff that I'm sharing in the gear guide. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, I can actually have that for $35. Yes, you can. It can all be yours. Okay. So quickly, my story. This is my adorable and almost perfect family. I've been married for 18 years to my amazing wife, Andrea. She's not watching this, but she is maybe standing on the other side of the door. Just kidding. She's incredible. She still loves me after 18, almost 19 years. I have a freshman in high school. Please pray for me. And I also have 2 adorable girls. Again, please pray for me. Tell Studios is my video production company. I started this company 17 years ago. It's taken on 100 different forms since then, maybe not 100, but a few different forms on who our target audience is and the kind of films that we create. But I got into this work 17 years ago because I wanted to tell people stories. I believe that people matter, their stories matter, and I wanted to make a difference by crafting their stories in a way that they couldn't do on their own, and really create legacy type pieces. That still holds true today. That is the work that I get most excited about. Since then, I've produced thousands of videos. I've worked for some incredible clients, football Hall of Famers, iconic brands like Jeep and Disney. I've worked with founders and CEOs, all kinds of amazing people. I've been all over the world filming stuff. I've been in places where I had absolutely no business being in. And it's just so fun. I feel so grateful for the opportunities that I've had. 5 years ago, after, leading my team of video people, 5 years ago, I decided to start another business. I launched a course to help videographers start and grow their own video business. And shortly after the success of that launch, I just kind of had one of those, like, great ideas. We had somebody approach us that wanted us to film for her course. She said, hey, I'm doing this course. And so that was kind of the start of us partnering with course creators. And, since partnering with other course creators, we've launched dozens of courses. We've generated over $1 million in revenue. And this is very meaningful work. So I'm so excited to be able to help you today, hopefully help you. Curious if you guys are okay with me sharing a 30-second snippet that actually highlights one of our course creators with some of her behind the scenes stuff. Okay. All right, cool. I'm going to share it, and the audio is not going to be that great because I couldn't figure out how to pipe it through my computer. So it's just going to be my shotgun mic here, but here we go. All right, so that was Susan. She is incredible. She's done some really, really awesome stuff. So anyway, just a little piece that we did for this big launch that she had a few months ago. You might be asking yourself, why does production quality matter? Well, I'm glad to be here to tell you why. The goal of having awesome looking course videos isn't so that people say like, wow, that looks amazing. For most of us, that is not going to impact our bottom line. If people say that your video looks amazing, we want to minimize distractions so that people can focus on your content. If your audio is bad, if you're filming at an awkward angle, if your lighting is bad, there are so many things that can distract us. Squirrel, right? Especially most of us are probably creative. We're entrepreneurs. There are so many things that we're like, so many shiny objects that can get our attention. And when people are watching our videos, and specifically our course videos, if they get distracted by things that we don't want them to be paying attention to, then we lose them. If you have a good looking course video, you can feel awesome. Like, it affects your confidence. When you feel awesome about what you have, you're going to bring that confidence to your students. Question: who thinks dressing well affects your confidence? Like, you wear your favorite outfit, you're on a hot date, you know that you look good, your hair is looking good, your beard is, nicely trimmed, you got some, beard wax in there, maybe some shiny oil. When you feel good and you're confident, like, people can feel that too, and they're drawn to that. And the same goes for our presence online. If people don't watch your video, or they can't pay attention because some distracting video production element that could have been easily avoided, and a lot of times for free or for really cheap, then they can't be impacted by your messages, by your message. Your message will fall flat. Their lives aren't going to be changed, and you won't have a thriving business. Video production matters because you can build trust faster. If we can come across on this screen here that you're looking at as authentic, if it can feel not overly produced, fake, or insincere, then you're going to build trust so much faster, which in today's digital world that we live in, it's really hard to build trust. The production stuff that I'm going to share with you is designed to build trust. Even something as simple as having the wrong kind of light, which, I'm going to share, in my opinion, a little bit later on, can really slow the trust building process down. The goal is not to create a Hollywood level production. As much as I love the cinematic look that my production team creates, there is a point of diminishing return, which I kind of alluded to earlier. Like, why would you spend, that much on something when if you spent this much, it can look good enough? So while I do think that production quality matters, I'm not telling you to go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, even though it's really easy to do, because after a certain point, better quality just isn't going to matter. Why production quality matters: if you can gain more confidence by the way that you look and the way that you sound when you teach your course, you will make a bigger impact, which is going to grow your business, and you will make more money inevitably. If you're interested in this and you like that little cat, oh, I'm covering up his word. He says, "Are you ready?" But it's more like, "Are you ready?" If you're ready, just do this. Do me a favor in the chat, type "ready," and we can all, just ready. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick drink here, and then I think we're ready. I'm sorry, the dad jokes, just you had to expect them. Okay, looks like we're ready. Moving on. The 3 pillars of awesome looking course videos: audio, camera, and lighting. Which of these pillars, when you look at these pillars, which one is the one that you feel like you need the most help with? Throw that in the chat. Audio, do you feel like your audio is terrible, or your camera? And don't say all 3. I mean, you can say all 3. Do what you want. I'm going to go through these specifics. All right, let's jump in here. And I'm going to try to fly, because some of this stuff is like, we can talk theory and whatever, but whatever. They say that, did I skip a slide? Oh yeah, I think it did. It doesn't matter. Audio is 90% of video. Research says that. I was going to include the thing, but I couldn't actually find the research. But I think research says that 90% of the videos that you watch, if the sound is bad, we will stop watching. So if we can get better audio in your video, is like, maybe you're shooting on a smartphone, like your iPhone, for your course videos, I think that can be fine. But if you don't have a good microphone, I don't think that that's fine. I think it's just going to feel cheap. It's going to, the feel, which is what it looks like and what it sounds like, it's just going to feel like, oh man, I just not looking forward to getting through these videos. I mean, have you ever listened to or watched a video where the audio is just like, it's just like, so some things that we can do. In this room that I'm in, should have shared a picture. I have other pictures to share, but I have these on the right here. You can see that foam. This is inexpensive. Like you can buy like really thick, really expensive stuff like this. But you don't need to. The blankets on the right are they're called sound blankets, but these ones are actually also moving blankets. They're $10 on Amazon, and they do amazing. So like if you have an echoey space, it's hard. It's your voice is going to sound super echoey. If your microphone's not that good, but you can deaden the echo, so there's less echo in your space, it's going to be better. So, if you're working in a room that has hardwood floor, you can throw a rug on the floor, and that will help. But it's basically the more hard surfaces that you have around you, the more your voice is going to bounce, and it creates that echoey, reverberary sound. I'm a professional audio guy. That is a word, reverberary. But for $20, I think those sound blankets are $10 a piece. We've done in the past where we've got a camera right here, and then on either side, we put sound blankets so that the sound only goes here. Obviously, it's going down and putting a rug on the ground, or making sure that you're in a carpeted area. And if you've got a high ceiling, these 3 spots can be covered. You're going to automatically deaden so much of the audio and level up your production. If you can be off camera for part of your course, and maybe you're just excuse me, you're recording like voiceover stuff, or you've got PowerPoint slides and you don't need to be actually on camera, go into your closet and record your audio in there. Your iPhone actually does, if you have an iPhone. I'm not sure how the other phones do, but an iPhone actually has a pretty good microphone. And when you go into a closet where there's actually like lots of clothes and a carpeted floor, just do a test, like talk inside of that room, like go right up to your, all of your clothes and put your microphone right here and talking to that. And you'll be like, wow, it's like, the sound ends like right here, and then step into another room and record and then play back, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, like that's a pretty big difference. So this is just like a simple tweak. If there's any voiceover stuff for your, and I know some courses are strictly just, PowerPoint presentations or whatever. But that's a real easy thing to consider if you're just voiceover. One of my big pet peeves, I have a few pet peeves. It's kind of annoying. People sometimes think I'm annoying, whatever. It is what it is. A lot of people buy those Blue Yeti mics or, whatever, like a podcast microphone, and then they put it on their desk, and then they put their hands on their desk, and you can hear that thud. You can hear boom, boom, and it's subtle, but it's so annoying, especially if you're filming a whole course and you're not really paying attention. It can be super distracting. And again, like that's the whole point here. We don't want to distract. So all you need to do is buy a microphone arm. And these things are like $15, and you can put your Blue Yeti in there. Maybe it doesn't look as cool. Like maybe you don't like the look and feel of a, like an arm. But if you get a different kind of microphone, one that's designed to be a little bit further away from your mouth, like a shotgun microphone, you can put like this. This is what I have right now. It's totally out of the screen. I can hit my desk, and all you're kind of hearing is the desk. You're not hearing like a reverberally from me hitting the desk. So, and then also like the cool thing about investing in a microphone, which we'll kind of talk about microphones here in a second, it doubles, so when you do get it on a podcast or a summit or something like that. So investing in, a good microphone isn't just for your course, but can be used, outside of just your course. Sorry, these gifts are just killing me. I can't remember who shared these like mini mics with me like a while back. They're like, oh yeah, have you ever seen on TikTok? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And then I saw it. I'm like, this is just so ridiculous. I'm sorry. So this one might be obvious, and I apologize if it is. I know some people are probably beginners, and hopefully, maybe not everybody knows this, but the closer you move your microphone to your mouth, the less other sounds are going to be heard. So if you've recorded audio and it's been echoey, it's probably because, it could be for a number of different reasons. But one thing that you can start doing is moving your microphone closer. Some microphones are designed to pick up less ambient noise, and the more expensive that they get, typically the better they are at like silencing all of the other things and only the thing that you're wanting to focus on. So let's see. I've got, let me just do this. I'm going to get real fancy here. Okay, so a couple of things here. This is a podcast microphone. This is a Heil PR40. Go ahead and write it down. This is my absolute favorite microphone for podcasting. This mic is not on right now, but now it is. Okay, so I can put my mouth like right on this thing, and it sounds good, I think. Does it sound good? If I step away from the microphone, I'm going to point it down here. If I step away from the microphone, you should still be able to hear me, but it just doesn't sound. And if you have headphones on, you're gonna really hear a difference. So if people watch your courses with headphones on, they're gonna be picking up more stuff. So a podcast microphone is designed so that you can really get up in there and make noise. This shotgun microphone, let's bring this into shot here. Okay. It's ridiculous. Mike's in the shot. Yeah, I know. What it's supposed to be. Okay, so this is how long is that? Is that a foot? I can't tell. 12 to 18 inches is kind of what we aim for when we're positioning a microphone. Like if we're doing an interview shoot, or in this case, I like to shoot my course videos without this blocking my face. I love how this sounds. So when I do podcast interviews, this is typically what I'm using. Actually, when I'm doing podcast interviews, this is always what I'm using. But when I'm doing a summit or something like that, just so I can like move my hands, not worry about hit microphone. The audio quality, I don't think is as good as this, at least with this microphone. But you can spend, for a shotgun microphone, you can spend thousands, literally thousands of dollars. This one right here, I think is like a $250 microphone. Um, and oh, I want to show you this one too. So this is a fun one that I'm going to include on the gear list. This is Deity. Deity is the brand. They are pound for pound the stinking best. This little tiny microphone, it's designed for like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. But what I've done is, come on, get in there. See this little, it's a lightning cable connector thing. So I've added this, and now I can turn my cell phone. I can get this going on my cell phone. So if I was recording my course with my cell phone, this little microphone is amazing. So this is kind of like it's like a miniature shotgun microphone, and I could hang it up here, and this thing would dangle. No, it wouldn't. I could hang it from up here, and it would sound really good. So whether you're using a smartphone for your course or a DSLR mirrorless or any something else, this microphone. I almost hit myself in the face. This microphone right here, $50, and the sound is it's so good for $50. I seriously feel like it's highway robbery. Don't tell them I said that, because they might consider upping the price. The other thing that you want to consider are things like pop filters. That's those screens. Foam. This is a foam thing that sorry, I made you naked microphone. It helps with the S's and the P's and that sort of thing. Using a shotgun microphone, I could have that on there, but my lips, they're not close enough. I don't need that. In those windscreen, like the big dead cats, they're called, the big furry things, those are typically for outside when it's windy, and so you don't really need that stuff inside. Okay, how are we doing? Is this good, helpful? I'm not reading the chat, so you guys could be like, Ryan, we don't hear any of your audio. My shotgun mic is actually running through a Rodecaster Pro. So that probably is the only answer that I'm going to give right now, because I said I wasn't going to look at the chat, but here I am at the chat. Okay, so we're back. Give me 1 second to myself. Okay, you guys are great. Okay, some camera tips. I love camera tips. This is super fun. Make sure that the goal here with your camera is to make sure that your shot, make your shot look and feel as conversational as possible. I think this is so important. This is like one of my favorite things. I care deeply about people and conversation and relationships, and I love having coffee with people and getting to know people. And I think that with what you can create here, can look and feel like we're hanging out together. With the wrong light, with the wrong audio, it cannot feel like that. And it kind of comes back to this idea of like building trust. With your camera, there are some things that we can do here to build trust. Big question, I think that a lot of people have is, smartphone versus something else. And the something else traditionally for a long time was DSLR cameras. And then a few years ago, mirrorless cameras came around. And so those are kind of like the cameras that people are considering or should be if they're ready to move up from their smartphone. Most smartphones look pretty good. I mean, a lot of them shoot 4K, which that's pretty cool, but that isn't necessarily going to give you that blurred out background look just because it shoots 4K. Doesn't really have anything to do with that. With mirrorless and DSLR cameras, the kind of cameras like this, where you can actually take the lens off. Man, Ryan, you're so good at that. Wow. And put different lenses on here. The reason why cameras have different lenses is not just so that you can zoom in on super far away stuff or have really wide. Some of the purposes of having different lenses are to make your background blurrier than it is. A lot of the stock lenses, which this is a stock lens, this is a Canon M50 Mark II. This is a stock lens that comes with the camera. Typically, you don't have to get it with the camera. They don't do a great job of blurring out the background. So it's almost like, why aren't you just shooting on your iPhone? Better. It's going to look a little bit better. But if you spend some money on a lens that's designed to blur the background out, you're really going to up the production level in the feel of like, wow, like you go from like, and I'll show you a couple examples here. Following, let's just jump in. Whoa, yikes. Okay, so this is the lighting setup that I currently have. I took my iPhone and I turned on selfie video mode and forgot to do my hair. Actually, that's today, so I did do my hair. That's just what it looked like. That's what lighting looks like. I messed with the exposure on the phone, and it doesn't do an awesome job. I mean, it does an okay job, but you're not seeing like many of the shadows. Like this is the same lighting that I had. The one that I'm talking from is the same lighting that I have it for that phone. So you're like, wow. It's just the way that they work. There are some cool apps that you can get that are camera apps, and you can do lots of adjusting and stuff, but they can only go so far. And yeah, that's all I'll say about that. I'm going to make my little window here smaller. I know you guys like seeing my face, but just calm down. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this, what you're looking at here is a mirrorless DSLR. It's actually, technically the camera that I'm using is not mirrorless or a DSLR. You can put lenses on it, long story short, but I do have this camera here. I could have made almost the same image. I didn't, it's just what's here in my studio. So this is an 18 to 35 millimeter lens. I should have put on there. It's a 1.8 aperture, which means it's a really fast lens, which also means that it does a really good job of blurring out the background. So side by side, you know, you've got the iPhone on the left, you've got the mirrorless with a lens on the right. Same lighting. I haven't changed the lighting or anything. Like this is the same thing. This is what you're competing with if you're shooting on a smartphone or a camera with a good lens. So you can get a sense, like the one on the left, it's like, I mean, I look like a doof, but you know, outside of that, like that video can look good. It can look better if it was somebody else. Okay, I'm gonna stop using self-deprecating humor. I'm a fine looking gentleman. Sorry, it's like, you know, weird having a one-way conversation for so long. Anyway, that's what my mom says. I'm fine, nice looking gentleman. Anyway, that can be fine. We've got light going, we've got background lights. You know, we could probably play, if anything, I would bring the background light down a little bit, which, you know, the picture on the right, I didn't bring it down. It's just the way that the iPhone is capturing light. I did like adjust the exposure on the camera, but it just didn't look good. So I would probably bring the background light down a little bit, so it would create a little bit more shape, but the camera can, or the phone can only get so far. Okay, so how to get this look here? Get a camera with a fixed, get a camera with a non-fixed lens. So you can go out to Best Buy right now and buy a video camera, and you're like, cool, like this should look good, except for the lens is built in, just like the lens is built in on your phone. You can't like take the lens off of your phone. You can take the lens off. The camera that you want is one where you can take the lens off and get different lenses. And you want to get a fast lens, a 1.8 to 2.8 aperture is what it's called. Again, it's the speed of the lens. You just need to, like, if you're going to talk to somebody, tell them like, yeah, I'm looking for a lens that's like a 1.8 to 2.8 aperture. That's what you would say, which means that it can get really bright. It means that it can blow out the background, make it really blurry, look really high production. And then the more space is the other tip here. The more space that you have behind you, the blurrier that stuff's going to be. So if this background was 10 more feet back, it would be double blurrier. So you'd probably not even be able to make out what those objects are. If everything was closer, if that stuff was up against my wall, if I was up against the wall, most of that stuff would be pretty in focus. So another pet peeve of mine is when people have like really cool gear, like they've got awesome cameras and stuff, but then they back themselves up like to the wall where you can't even see the distortion of the background, so everything's in focus. If that's the case, you might as well use something like your phone. Save your money. Don't. It's just not going to have that look that you're going for. So also, the closer that I get to the camera, like right now, let's see if I can see this. The closer I get, the blurrier I just got a cramp. The blurrier the background should be. This is probably the most awkward thing I've ever done on a live workshop. But I'm guessing that, watch the plant in the background. I'm going to back up. Watch the plant should get a little bit clearer or a little bit more in focus. So you're working with two different things. The further the background can be, the more blurry it's going to be. But if you're backing up with it, that's not going to be helpful. And the closer that you are to the camera is going to do the same thing. Okay? Okay. Camera tips, tricks, position, laptop angle, headroom, and centered. Those are the three things we're going to cover here real quick. Okay, this is the laptop angle. Again, another pet peeve. This is when, and I have a friend who she's made so much money with her courses. She shot a course that I got, and she filmed it with her, with her laptop camera, which again, similar, actually the laptop camera, at least on my MacBook Pro, is not as good as the camera here. But it's still like fine. It's actually pretty bad, but it's good enough, except for this is the angle she shot from, like almost on her lap. It was probably on her desk, but like the, laptop is like this. And what that means is the camera is shooting up like this, right? So the laptop goes like this, the lens is here, and it's shooting up to you. And then you get a, you get a shot like that. So flattering. You see up people's noses. That's so bad. Like, why do you want to look up people's noses? And it looks like I'm talking down at you. Like if I was teaching right now from that angle, it's kind of like this subconsciously. It's like having a teacher or an adult, like a parent or somebody, like looking down at you. And that's just not a good feeling. Like, I mean, I do have plenty of great memories as a kid, but if somebody's teaching you, you're teaching a course and it seems like that's not a way to build rapport. So I would suggest not doing that. Instead, okay, the lighting here is, I did not tweak the lighting here, but I want you to see the difference between these two. This is, I got a big box and I put my laptop on the box. And so now I'm looking straight ahead. So you can't really see up my nose. I mean, you can because my nostrils look flared, but not like that. I'm not looking up at me. I'm looking across. And again, like I want it to feel like we're sitting across from each other at coffee. Okay. Eye level. You can use a box. You can use books. You can stack books. And this is just for your course. Like you're going to, maybe when you're going to record, you don't want to go through the hassle of doing this every single time, but for your course, get your stuff eye level, use books. There's laptop stands. There's these cool like desk arms that you can screw into your desk. It clamps on your desk. It's an arm, and like this arm comes out and you can there's like a little tray and you can set your laptop on there, and then you can raise and lower it and get the thing like straight and get it like here. So there's that. Laptop angle fixed. I didn't know I had these animations in here. Okay, headroom. Sometimes we can think that centering ourselves will look best. There's something weird about that picture, minus the red line. Okay, don't look at the red line, but the red line is kind of the halfway point in this shot. And that a lot of times that's what people do. They think, oh, I want to be centered. I want to be in the middle, and I want to be centered. So like this is good, right? It's not. There's this thing called the rule of thirds, which I'm sure all of you have heard about. It's where you break the picture up into 3 different parts: vertically and vertically like this, and horizontally, right? This is horizontal. Horizontal thirds. So my eyes, you want your eyes to be close to that line, really close to that line. Okay, so you can see the framing. There's so much headroom. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. There's all this headroom from like me to the top of the thing. That's what that's called. It's called headroom. It's not good. Now, like this camera is positioned to where I'm in the third. So it just feels better. This is the other part of the thirds. Centered. If you're talking into camera, you don't want to be in the third on the side over here because that feels weird. If I was being interviewed, I want to be in the third and I want to look over here, right? So this is like the vertical third and the horizontal third. I'm in the center of one of them right here. But if I'm teaching and I'm talking to you, I should be, in the middle. Like you would never go to coffee. Well, if there's 3 of you, you would be off center, and then you'd get blurry just like that. So being in the center, this is helpful. And sometimes you might have 2 camera angles, like one where you're talking right into the camera, and then another one that's shooting like a side angle. And that's fine because you'll cut away to that one. But the most important one is the one where you're looking directly at somebody. And then this is really simple. If you don't have a tripod, something that stands on the floor apart from your desk, you're going to help eliminate shaky shots. And there's nothing worse than like having a super well composed shot, great lighting, great cameras, and then you hit the desk because your little laptop, like I have one of these things, you hit the desk and then it shakes and then it makes the shot not look cool. Okay, let's jump into lighting. Hopefully I'm not going too fast, but whatever it is. Tell me if I am going too fast. I covet any feedback that you guys have for me to make this workshop even better the next time I do it. Goal for lighting is to make you look natural and make your skin look soft and beautiful, or handsome, or both. I mean, who doesn't want soft skin, right? You get old like me and it's like, oh. Okay, so this right here, this shot is overhead room light, just regular can lights in the ceiling. Look at the shadows on my face. It's so bad. There's shadow on my neck here. There's like hard shadow, like a really clear line like under my left eye there. There's hard line over here. You want those lines to be really soft. If you've ever had a professional photographer work with you, you go outside, they're like, oh man, it's an overcast day. It's like having a big soft box. Like that's the prettiest lighting. Like you're not going to have hard shadows. That's the thing that you want to avoid, is hard shadows. So using overhead light, it's not suggested. It doesn't look good. What happened? Okay, so here's iPhone with soft light. You've already seen this picture, but there's the difference. I turn the overhead light off and I turn the soft light on. Okay, so there's no, even under my neck where there should be a harsh or a harder shadow, there is a harder shadow under my neck, but it's still soft. There's no hard lines. And then this is even better. Like you see the really dark spot. Oh, I guess you can see it in this picture too. But you see the really dark shadow under my neck, and it's not a hard line. If I stepped outside at noon and the sun is up super high, the highest point, and there's no clouds, that line is going to be a straight line. There's going to be no kind of softness there. And then the soft light, if you look at my forehead and my wrinkles, wow, that's a big difference there. Look at that. And that's just from using a soft box with soft background lights. That, folks, what you're looking at right there, that picture is with that $35 light. So, man, I look good. But for $35, here's the other thing. I don't have a slide for this, but some other things to consider. And again, the gear guide is going to show you this. This is probably the most expensive piece of gear that I own. It's actually just called foam core. Could be like a poster board, but it's a little bit thicker than poster board. You can get this at a craft shop, but I've got all this dark shadow over here on my face, and I bring this in. It's going to be a terrible live demonstration because I can't really see. It's out, it's in. It's subtle, but it brings some, just if you're looking over here, I don't know if this is helpful or not. Another thing that you can use this for is if you have a light and you can't afford the $35 light, you can actually bounce this light. You can get a super bright light, like right here, point it that way, and it will hit this foam core and it will come back and splash on you. And it's going to be softer than if I just turn that light and point it straight at me, because people do that and it looks really bad. That's when the hard shadows come in. But if you're reflecting it, using it to reflect, that's why when you see photographers at weddings, they'll shoot and their flash is pointed up. If it's a low enough ceiling, that light is going straight up. It's hitting the ceiling, and then the light is spilling down like what the sun does, on a cloudy day. Another thing that you can get This is just a silk. It's called a silk, and you can put this, like if this light was too harsh, it currently already has like a silk on it, which makes it soft. I can put this over top, and the light that comes out is going to turn from hard to soft. Ring lights. Okay, my next advice on ring lights. Avoid using ring lights if possible. And I know some of you do. Some of you bought a ring light. I'm sorry. No, there is still hope. A ring light is not natural. Like the way people typically use ring lights is straight in front of them. It loses that. You lose the authentic, like, hey, we're hanging out for coffee if you have a ring light on your face. It looks really produced. It looks like a music video, or it looks like a makeup video or something like that. If you took that ring light and you brought it up and put it on an angle, right? So instead of like straight on you like this, turn it on a 45-degree angle, put it up here, and then got a silk like this, that light would be soft and would look really good. It would look so much better than if it's straight on. So don't use a ring light. Just invest like $7 in some kind of a silk to put over top of your ring light. If you don't have, a tall enough tripod, you can get a desk tripod. Those are super cheap too. So there is hope for you if you have a ring light. And maybe you're like, Ryan, you're crazy. My ring light is the coolest thing I have. Like, you're entitled to your own opinion. I'm entitled to mine. And I think ring lights for course videos just don't do what I want them to do. Okay, we're almost done. Extra tips and stuff. I'm super pro, you guys. Who uses a teleprompter? Do you? Let me know if you use a teleprompter. What is your big frustration and annoyance when using a teleprompter? I'm curious to know. I have mine. My thing that I would always get so annoyed by is like trying to find the right speed. I can tend to be a fast talker anyway, and I would always feel like I was playing catch up with the teleprompter, because the text just goes. So the cost of admission is this is probably like one of my favorite things that I'm sharing with you outside of like a soft box light. Prompt Smart is an app. And you can type in your scripts on Google Docs or wherever you type them, copy, paste into Prompt Smart, and Prompt Smart. Wow, I really butchered that. Prompt Smart is voice activated. So it solves my problem of like having to catch up to the teleprompter, because you can say what's on the screen and you can pause, and then you can start up again. Why I love that is, why I love that is because I'm not playing catch up, and it can feel more natural. I want to get into teleprompter best practices. Where did I put those? Oh yeah. Okay, so with using something like Prompt Smart, you can the goal here is to make it feel authentic. So what I actually do when I'm writing my scripts is I add in the word or I add in the word or I'll just put ... so that I know like to wait a second. When I do this and I'm using Prompt Smart, I can go at my own pace, and it can sound like, oh, okay, like, and some people, like, their vibe is like super professional. They're always on, and that's fine. That's not how I am. So if people saw me being like that, people that knew me saw me being like that, and the people that are buying my courses see me, they hear me. I have a weekly podcast. Like they see me. So if I was to deliver a course and just sound like so put together, that it wouldn't feel right. They would know something is they're like, oh, I guess this is kind of produced. And that's not what I'm going for. I didn't put this one in here, but like contractions, like I'm educated, I'm smart, gosh darn it. But when I use contractions, again, that's like making me, I don't know, more real, for better sake of whatever, me just getting tripped up on my words. So inserting that stuff into your teleprompter app, and then having a teleprompter app that, you using Prompt Smart is like, you can talk, follow your script, pause. And sometimes I like to look away, like I'm thinking, and then come back and be like, and that just feels real. So anyway, another piece of advice when using a teleprompter is to tighten your margins. So if your whole screen is like this big, it's like, oh, cool, I got this huge teleprompter. This is awesome. I can read. Don't do that, because another annoyance of mine, again, this is just my annoyance, is when you see people's eyes moving like far left to right. That doesn't feel, again, like if we're hanging out for coffee and I feel like you're kind of looking behind me, looking all around, like I'm like, are we kind of in this together? I just feel like you're somewhere else. Bringing your margins in so your eyes don't have to travel as much. So obviously, so your head doesn't turn at all, but your eyes are only having to turn this much instead of like this much. So tightening your margins, and you can typically do that on most teleprompter apps, and take advantage of voice activated. So Prompt Smart is really smart. That's it. I hope this was helpful. I'm super excited for you to put yourself out there, for you to gain confidence, for you to be able to make a bigger impact. Stop coming up with excuses about quality or whatever, because, with your smartphone, you can make good looking stuff. And, with other more expensive stuff, you can make good looking stuff. But like Graham suggests, go ugly early. The world needs what you have to offer. Don't forget to grab the gear guide, courseproductionacademy.com/gear. And in a second, I'm going to let Graham back on. Just kidding. But Graham will come back on in a second. I'm going to do a random drawing in the next 24 hours. And for 5 people, I'm going to do an audit of their setup. So if you kind of have your camera, or you've already done a course, and you want to send me like a screen grab of what you've got going on, I would love to kind of give you my feedback and input on what I would do different. And sometimes it's not, whatever, like you be you. I would love to help you if I can. So that's all I got. Graham, let's do Q&A if we still have time. I would love to. That would be super fun.
Yeah, Ryan, just to clarify, that's to be entered to be one of those 5 audits, you have to download the gear guide. So you have to go over here, and when I find it, it's right here.
Did I? No, I told people that it's not actually live. You can type in your name. You're going to get a thank you page that says, hey, thanks for signing up. Later today, you're going to get the guide. So we're going to finish here shortly, and then I'm going right over there, and I'm going to finish.
Yeah, so go opt in, so that way you'll be emailed the guide when it's done. And then for everyone who opts in, myself included, although I could just ask Ryan he will tear my videos apart for free. But then when already did. But when you opt in, then he's going to do a random drawing, 5 of you. He'll just do an audit on the kindness of his own heart, which I think will be really, really helpful. I know those kinds of audits are amazing. So first of all, go download that. I'm going to leave that link up here on the screen, courseproductionacademy.com/gear. Second of all, thank you to everyone who's been here. We're going to do Q&A now. So put your questions for Ryan, either about what he covered, or questions you have about your shooting setup or gear or getting a great shot. And then I'll put this on the screen and we'll answer a few. And then finally, Ryan, just thank you, brother, for doing this. This was awesome. Thanks for sharing a lot of your tips and for making fun of ring lights. I like ring lights. I used them for many years. What's funny though, is I started using ring lights before they were popular for YouTubers. And then everyone started using them. And I mean, they've gone out of fashion in a lot of ways too. But for a long time, I was like, there's one of the few people that was doing ring lights. And then everyone was using ring lights. Your grandmas were using ring lights. And then none of us, I guess, should have been. With that, let's see. DC Scott had a good question. How much of your body and head should you include in the frame? So head and shoulders, he wants to know, can it be chest up? Do you have to be the full body in the frame?
Yeah, that's a good question. It sort of depends on what you're teaching, right? So Susan, Heather, one of our other course creator partners, she does cakes. They're building stuff. They're making stuff on camera. So we actually have 3 angles when we go with it. I know this is not helpful for this particular question, but if what you're doing requires people to be able to see it, but if you're just, most of the videos that I teach, this workshop is pretty different for me because I was moving around most of the time. It's just I'm talking right into camera talking, and then, I'm cutting the slides and whatever. So I think it comes down to preference. You don't want to be too far away, because then it's going to feel wow, this guy's super far away. But again, I kind of go back to this, like, I want it to feel like we're having coffee. So I like this frame. This is why I've chosen this frame to kind of be it's my standard Zoom frame. So when I'm meeting with clients, this is the framing that I'm using. When I go to the studio to film, we actually will zoom out just a little bit more, because we shoot 4K at the studio, and then we've got options. Like, I mean, I could just trim the frame this down to this size for the whole thing, or I could punch in, like, just on my face, and we can do jump cuts to cover, some of my uhs and ums that kind of get annoying or whatever. So I would just say, like, a standard, if what you're doing doesn't need to necessarily, you're not like showing people stuff other than like you talking, this frame, maybe, a little bit further back, can work too. But that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Greg says, any specific tips if you have a white background? So, like, I guess maybe dressing up your background in your shot, like suggestions to make it not so bland or boring, maybe have some kind of contrast between you and the background.
Yeah. So have a wife that will, like, get you stuff to, yeah. So, I mean, this I shot against this is just it's a light gray wall. And, at some point I told my wife, cause I had seen a couple of people's, like, backgrounds. I'm like, I've got 2 walls that I could shoot against. I could shoot against a plain wall, and then I could shoot against one that, has stuff. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not awesome at, like, set design. That's not my skill, but I know that when you put some stuff behind you just to create some space, is sometimes more interesting than just like a plain white background. And sometimes what can be cool is just like one light. I did like one light behind me, like below me. So it was a light right about waist level. Sorry, this is out of focus. Waist level, and it just kind of like shot up. And so it was kind of like this gradient. I looked kind of angelic, I guess. But it was still, it was cooler than, I just got tired of the white background. So
yeah, I would say also go look at YouTube videos that you think the background, just like you get an idea of what people are putting in their backgrounds, and some are going to be very busy and some will be a little less busy, but you'll notice there's usually some separation between you and the wall, and lighting on the wall is not a bad idea either. Brookie says, just what are your thoughts, Ryan, on lavalier microphones?
Oh, yeah, I didn't touch on lavs. I think lavs should be used if you are, if your course involves you, like, moving around. Like with Susan, we've laved her, we've put a shotgun up, like, and we're like, okay, Susan, so this is the spot that we want you to stand in most of the time. But then when you're, kind of going around, we're not like running around with a boom mic capturing her audio. So she would have a lav. My favorite one is the Rode Rode Wireless Go. And they just came out with a new one that's a little bit more expensive, but it comes with 2 microphones. But for a regular course, I just wouldn't, if you're investing in a microphone, unless you're moving around a decent amount, I wouldn't put my money into a wireless microphone. They're great, and we use them all the time for, more documentary style stuff that we're doing. But for a course that's in a controlled environment, I hate seeing them. Like, so we try to hide them with tape and do all this stuff to put it under their skin. And it's just, there's opportunity for scratchy sounds and whatever. So fabric on clothes can be annoying. So it's just like, it's usually just more of a headache. So ideally we would be in an environment where, we've got a shotgun mic or some kind of a mounted mic that's near the person.
Awesome. Sargis says, how do you get a good camera angle if you need to watch the screen for what you're teaching? So maybe talk about the relationship between looking at the lens and looking at your screen for what you're teaching.
I like this one because this entire time I've been looking at the camera, and let me just show you, see it, just if you can see what I'm seeing here. Okay, this is like Inception. I think it's about to happen. Probably can't see it like super well, and I can't even get the thing, but I'm looking at an LCD monitor that's down here. This LCD monitor is hitting my teleprompter here, and I've got my monitor plugged into my Mac Mini. So my Mac Mini is sending the second monitor, this signal, and then it's coming up on the screen here. So the entire time I was watching my slides, I was reading my notes, everything was right in front of me because I have this teleprompter set up and I have this mini monitor set up. So it's kind of like tech heavy here, which is why I definitely didn't get into it. But I'm happy to include the links in the gear guide for this setup, because I think for me, it's pretty special. Again, going back to like the importance that I put on being able to stay here instead of like me looking down or me having notes here and look up. I don't like that. I want to be able to make eye contact with you, even if I can't see you. I want you to feel like I'm looking into the depths of your soul.
Yeah, that's a great question and a great answer. But in general, like even if you don't have a teleprompter where you can project your screen over the lens, which gives you as the presenter the best of both worlds, you can both see the screen in your notes and also be looking directly in the lens like I am. But like right now, I just have the lens in front of me, but my screen is right below. And I think if you can get good at, if you don't have that teleprompter set up, knowing when to look into their eyes, aka the lens, and when to look at your notes. And if you are presenting or teaching a course, which is what we're talking about, if you have slides, it's very natural for you then when you're like looking at the slides, they're looking at the slides too. So we're all looking at the slides together. But then when you want to make a point, you can look back up to the lens and drive your point home, and then they'll pay attention to that. It's a subtle movement, but it makes a huge difference. Like Ryan said, look at the people in the eyes. Don't look at yourself if you can get away from it. So great question.
It's good.
This is a question about autofocus or manual focus.
You really shouldn't ever do manual focus unless somebody is manning the camera. So, gosh, PTSD here, where I filmed for, 10, 20, 30 minutes on manual. Maybe I knew it was on manual. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just thought that I'd be in focus because my aperture was, slow enough or whatever. And then I go to watch and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this was in focus, my nose, because I, went back just a little bit or whatever, but my eyes weren't in focus. And if this the number one thing that you need to make in focus whenever you're doing anything like this is your eyeballs. If your nose is out of focus because it's really long, or your ears are out of focus because they're really far back in your head, that doesn't matter. But if people can see your eyes, again, it goes back to being able to connect with you. So I would put on autofocus. And the amazing thing is, like, the technology in the mirrorless cameras that are really affordable today, it's unbelievable. And they keep improving on autofocus. You can just, select your face and it stays with you, right? So if you move up like this camera's a little bit slower to get the autofocus, but it adjusts. And you're going to end up redoing stuff or being really frustrated and annoyed that your stuff is a little bit soft focus. And that's just not, again, it goes back to like that feeling of like, it doesn't feel high production value, or it just feels like maybe they save some money by shooting this on their own, and that's not what you want people to feel.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good tip. Get the eyes in focus. There's a related question, and I can deal with this. He says practice makes better. Says he's shooting guitar tutorials, so it's hard for him to get good focus when he's got his guitar in his face. And I've done those shots too, where I'm literally playing guitar or explaining something, and it can track my face sometimes, but then it'll track the guitar and not my face, and that's annoying. So is that just, is there no way around that, or is it just depends on the lens and the camera setup?
Yeah, if you have like, my goal whenever I buy a new lens, the kinds of lenses that I want are ones that blow the background out even more, that distort the background, because I don't have that thing, unless it's like a gear thing that I'm showing people, and I don't really do gear type videos until today. So if you got a slower lens and you set your aperture on that lens to like, higher than 2.8, because 2.8 means like, your hand can be here and your face back here, and your face is going to be out of focus, or your hand is going to be out. One of them is going to be out of focus. But if you're at like 5.6 aperture, or you go up to like 10 aperture. Like the higher you go, the more everything is going to be in focus. So if you've ever been in a photo with multiple people and there's a couple of rows of people, if you're shooting that at 2.8 aperture, like some people are going to be out of focus. So the photographer should adjust. And that's going to be one of the safer ways to be able to get both your guitar and your face or whatever the object is, if you're wanting those to be in focus the whole time.
Yeah, that's a great point. Even like your iPhone has a pretty wide, not wide angle, but like a wide range of focus, or a lot of things are in focus. So it's not going to give you the blurred out background, but that's good. It can keep your guitar in focus and your face as well. So that kind of gets into, know what kind of shot I guess you need to create, because then you might need a different kind of lens or a different kind of setup for what you're shooting.
Right.
Not to get too technical. Joe has a good question. So like, if you're doing an interview or you have two people on screen, he says, do you recommend 2 cameras and 2 mics, or just more zoomed out with 1 camera and maybe 1 mic in between them? Is there a way to do that? Well, obviously the more cameras and the more mics would be better if you're doing it professionally, and then you could cut them together. Is there a way to do it simpler, or does it not matter?
Yeah. 2 people, I'm assuming that both of these people are teaching. 1 microphone, it depends on how close they are. Like I said, like the closer you are to the microphone, the better it can sound. So if you have a shotgun microphone, like what I have here, like that, we've used 1 shotgun microphone, but the hope is that like both people are kind of like, angled toward the shotgun mic's right in the middle, pointing down or whatever. And both people are speaking toward, right, versus sideways or speaking straight out. You don't want them speaking straight out. You kind of need this if you're going to use a shotgun mic. So that's probably the best way. You can use, some podcast mics have options where you can make the audio kind of go all around. Again, that's not going to give you the best sounding audio. It's going to capture if there are 2 people, and sometimes you just need to do that. So in a situation like that, another option would be like, this might be where you get a lavalier microphone on either person, so that they're both mic'd up. Don't ever share a lavalier microphone between 2 people. That's just like too close for comfort. And 2 cameras, I don't think that really matters. I think it depends on what it is that you're filming again, but you can get the job done with 1 camera. And the nice thing, let me just reiterate, like with your iPhone, if you're using your iPhone or any other camera that has 4K option, you can have a wide of the 2 people, a shot that has both people in the shot, and you're shooting at 4K. And then what 4K is, it's like there's just so many more pixels. So like if you wanted to zoom in with, not on the camera, but when you're editing, you're like, I got this wide shot the whole time, but you wanted to zoom in just on my face, because I mean, look at this face. If you just wanted to zoom in on this face, you can do that without it distorting my face. Like old school cameras, if you tried zooming, on a clip, like, it would be like just a little bit of zooming in, it's like really like distorted and gross. But 4K lets you zoom in a lot before it starts getting gross looking. So you can shoot 4K wide with 2 people, and then in post, when you start editing, you can zoom in and punch in and leave the other person out of the shot and just focus on one person until you're ready, and then you can switch back and forth. That's probably the best way without having to add another camera.
That's a great tip. That's a really, really good use of 4K as well. And Joe, I don't know, if you're filming on an iPhone, for example, like Ryan was saying, I use the IK Multimedia, like lav mic. I forget what they call it. It's the only one they have, but they sell it in a 2-pack, and they can plug into each other into one iPhone connection. So you can mic up the 2 guests independently, and then it feeds into your phone, and it'll capture both of their microphones, which is great. And then it even has a headphone jack, so you could plug into it and just monitor the feed if you wanted to make sure it sounded good. But that's a very easy, quick way to get 2 people mic'd up close to their mouths, and then you just do the 1 shot. And I love that idea, shooting in 4K and then zooming in. Let's just do one last question. It's related to chairs. What kind of chairs are you guys sitting on? My chairs have a back that's taller than my shoulders, so the chair shows behind me. Ryan, I think you're standing up, right? You're at a standing desk?
I am standing. Yep.
So it's an invisible chair. I I get all my chairs usually from West Elm. I just got a new one last month, but it's like the update. So it's a mid back. It's probably like the mid upper part of my back, but it's usually out of the shot because I don't like the big high video game chair. Like I don't want that in the shot. I don't want you to see anything. And I also don't like the way they look in my room, which is pointless because no one sees it. But when I walk in, I want to see a nice, slick camel leather, mid-century modern chair. So that's why I get that. But practically it works because you don't see it on camera.
Yeah, my 2 cents on there. I think when you're doing a workshop, when you're doing a course, I think the energy that you have is different when you stand. So that would be a recommendation that I have for you, is to stand when you're going to deliver your course. And then, like Graham is saying, like whenever we do interviews, people are like, oh, we've got these really plush couches and this other, and it's like, you don't want the furniture to look like it's swallowing you, which those kinds of things do. So like something that just goes up to your mid back, so that you can't see it. I highly recommend not getting the chair in the shot unless it's important, unless the chair is actually a part of what it is that, you're putting together.
Yeah. Great question. A very practical one, because it goes to just the final thought here is it's not even just the camera or the lighting or even the audio. There's just the subtle, like, be intuitive about like, what does their set look like? And is it, like, going to your original point, you don't want the video to be distracting. The whole point is to be not distracting. So if the chair is, like you said, huge and swallowing you up like a king's throne or something, or just a weird pattern or weird color, that's going to take away from all the work you've done to light yourself well or to mic yourself up. So just think about the way it looks. Clean it up a little bit. It's kind of like when you do like photos for a house you're trying to sell. People just take pictures of their house and it looks like crap because there's crap in your house. It's like, don't do that. I know that's what your house looks like, but that's not what you want to show the world. Take away all your junk, clean it up so there's less distracting junk so they just see the house. Same thing for you. Ryan, this was awesome. Let me know in the chat if this was a super fun workshop. Give Ryan some love. And we've got the gear guide link on the screen. It's free, and it literally, a lot of stuff he talked about, but also a lot of stuff he couldn't get to today of specific recommendations based on your budget, based on what you need. If you need lighting or don't, if you need a camera or don't, or a lens, because you might already have some of your setup and you just want to upgrade a little bit of it. Maybe it's the microphone or the lighting. But download it for free, courseproductionacademy.com/gear. If you're watching live, you're not going to get it instantly because Ryan's going to finish it up. He was putting it together, but he's also even going to add some stuff to it from the suggestions on this live. But you will get it emailed to you today. And even if you're watching the replay, download it as well, because you're going to be entered to win one of 5 free audits. He's going to pick 5 of you randomly to look at your course videos or look at any of your videos and just give you some suggestions on the way your shots are looking. And that's worth a lot because it's personalized feedback. So that's awesome. So definitely download that to get entered to win that. Looks like people were enjoying this. Ryan, this was awesome, brother. And where else can people check out just what you do, your production company, maybe your podcast, any of that stuff, if they want to just enjoy more of what you're doing?
Yeah, no, thanks, Graham. Production company is tellstudios.com. Like, we tell stories. So it's tellstudios.com. You can see our production stuff there. The podcast that I have is called Grow Your Video Business. That's where I help videographers start, grow their video business. And Ryan Coral on social media. You can find me there. And yeah, this was a pleasure, Graham. Thank you so much. It was super fun. I can't believe all the people. This was just really, really cool.
Yeah, good group of people. Great questions. Thanks for hanging in there and tuning in. And let us know. You can email me or message me also when this is all done if this kind of content is helpful to you, thinking about more of the technical stuff with your video content, because I know it is a big part of what we do, both if you do YouTube and also if you're just doing video courses. So we'll consider that in the future if you want more content or training like this. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. This is amazing. And there will be a replay of this posted for you that registered. So I'll get that email to you tomorrow. But if that's all for now, we're going to say goodbye. Ryan, thanks for hanging out, brother. It's always good to see you. And thanks for serving my people so well today.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham.
Yeah. See you, everybody.